So one of my pet peeves is the subway station that I normally use in my neighborhood, and my problem with the subway station is that it needs to be, you know, fixed and to be beautiful. And given that New York City is such a powerful city and one of the best cities in the country, but the infrastructure is just crumbling. So the problem with this subway station is, first of all, it looks dirty, it looks run down. But the biggest problem is in the morning, you have to go down the stairs because so many people are coming from the other direction and going up the escalator that we have to go down this very narrow stairs. And you saw that on the video. And, you know, it's just run down. It looks like very old school. And here we are, very modern. And yet our subway stations, at least a lot of them in Manhattan, look like a dump. And they shouldn't, because if you think about it, in one part of the country, we're just totally having great technology like Silicon Valley, but our infrastructure is sort of falling apart. Now, the car itself, you look here, is kind of modern, but that's still a problem for me. So one of my big questions today was, should I get the iPad Pro? It's announced that they're going to start selling it on, pre-ordering it on Wednesday. And the question is, should I get it? It's going to be in the stores on Friday. Now, the big thing is that it has a 12.9-inch Retina display. Here you're looking at a screenshot, and it's more powerful than the iPad Air 2. And so that could be something that I could use. I mean, I use my iPad Air 2 a lot. I use it a lot to review documents, to read documents, particularly PDFs. And this thing is going to be bigger, and with dual screen, the ability to have two apps side by side on this gigantic screen, it could be worth getting. So, and it's going to have the same DPI, dots per square inch, as the iPad Air 2, but it's going to have it over a bigger screen. And in terms of power, it's going to be 1.8 times the CPU of the iPad Air 2. So another thing I could use it for, in addition to reviewing documents and having documents side by side, is editing movies. I mean, I could see that, it could be like my 4K video editor, and instead of using my Mac to edit this vlog, I could maybe dump the 4K videos into the iPad Pro. But the other thing is, it's also good for other things like music. Like, you could see in that video there that you could put two keyboard lines if you have a musical instrument. But the killer feature, I think, is going to be drawing. Here's the keyboard. So you can have two, it's going to be, you have a bigger screen, it might be easier to play like musical instruments on it. And it also might be easier to edit videos, particularly if you're taking video editing very seriously. So, I'm on the fence whether or not to buy the iPad Pro. But the drawing could be the killer feature, because the iPad Pro has a special surface that's going to be more sensitive to using with a special pencil that Apple has made that's going to be working with the iPad Pro. That pencil is going to cost $99, and it's going to be better than any other pencil or stylus, but it's going to be really good for drawing. And this is something kind of excites me because I like to take notes, and I still take notes on paper. And I've tried to take notes like using a stylus on the iPad Air 2, and here's the revolutionary pencil. But it's not the same thing with a stylus on an iPad Air 2 or some other tablet. There's a lag time between when you write and when you and also your palm print can impact it. So I'm really toying with the concept because I could see using it a lot. I could use it actually in my work. I do a lot of writing. I take notes, and instead of doing it on a pad of paper, I could maybe just write on this tablet using this pencil. I mean, I think eventually Apple, the next generation iPad Air, maybe the iPad Air 3, Apple's probably going to build in that technology that works with the pencil. But this is the first generation iPad, the iPad Pro, that's going to have the ability to work with this new pencil. And everybody who's who's raved about the pencil or seen it has raved about it. Now, in terms of the specs, it's only going to come in two sizes: 32 gigabytes and 128 gigabytes. And only the 128 gigabytes model comes in a price or a size that also has the LTE connection. So I'm thinking of getting maybe the 32 gigabyte, but the problem is if I'm going to edit 4K videos on it, I should try to get as much storage as possible, get the 128 gigabyte model. So as you see here, the lineup now of the iPad ranges from the iPad Mini 2 all the way to the iPad Pro. Okay, so later on, heading back home, again taking the subway, one of my concerns also with the subway is that it gets really crowded. But one of the things that entertains us on the subway is musicians sort of just jump in and start playing music spontaneously and looking for donations. Now, I guess some people are going to be irritated by that. There's this guy there in the video you see reading right there. He might not be too thrilled that some guy's playing the drums very loudly next to him. On the other hand, he does bring some cheer to the car. So this is one of, I guess, both one of the perks of the subway and also for some people one of the downsides. So here again, this is the deep escalator at my subway stop. This time I'm going up. But you can imagine, when this thing breaks down, it's a real pain to walk up this staircase. So afterwards, I checked out a sports store, and one thing I looked at is maybe getting a GoPro. They are a little pricey. I'd get the kind that's like a little cube, because then you could sort of set it down on the ground. Then I went to the tennis section, and my son plays tennis, and my daughter, and he might need a new racket, but look at this head. Look how they're selling it. I mean, this has got to be defective. If you look at the top of that, there's got to be a split in the top that's expanding. And so that can't be a correct way for a tennis racket to be. This is one of the I don't think it's the top of the line head racket. In this head racket, it says there on the cover that it's smart tennis sensor ready. That means that you can put a Sony sensor into the end of the racket grip, and that can sort of track what kind of swings you're doing and how much topspin you're hitting. And so I think a lot of the rackets are going to have those sensors in them. Now in terms of some of the rackets that I think are great, now this racket comes with two I think these are adaptive gaskets or grockets. And what that means is the traditional racket has strings that are 16 by 19, but you can swap out those things in the side and then have it be 16 by 16. And what happens when you get it 16 by 16, you have a wider areas between the strings, and supposedly that can cause more topspin. Anyway, so one of the big annoyances in our neighborhood is that they're digging a hole and making a lot of noise, and this is the hole and the truck that's making all that noise right outside of our apartment. Anyways, that's the end of the vlog.